Good evening, everyone. Good to see you. Hello, Kevin and Adriana, who's wishing for everyone to be well and healthy. Well, we're healthy for now, and we're kind of well too. Hopefully, that will continue. Jens, hello, good to see you. Nora, Lamu, Gita, Jean, hello, Edward, Anyani, Sally. Good to see you, Ethan. Welcome back, Laura and Ron. So we will be starting with some chanting. Oh, so good. Sally is saying, I hope everyone can taste the Dhamma, Buddha, and Bhante taught too. Oh, cute. Okay, so we will start by chanting the Ratana Sutta, although I did not put the link, so let me get it. 1 second. Yeah, got it. Bhante is whispering some suggestions on how to find it. And here is the link. All right, so we can start.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Yani bhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vantareke sabeva bhuta sumana bhavantu atopi sakacha sunantu pasitam tasmahi bhutani samita sabbe metam karota manusiya pajaya divacharato chaharanti evaring tasmahi nerakata appamata yam kinchivitam idavahuram vasagesu vayam ratanam panitam nano samamati tathagatena idampi buddhe ratanam panitam etena saccena suvati hotu kayam viragam amatam panitam yada jagasa kyamuni samahito natena dhammena samati kinchi idampi dhamme ratanam panitam etena saccena suvati hotu Yam Buddha seto parivanai suchim samadhimanantarikanyamahu samadhina tena samo navijati idampi dhamme ratanam panitam etena saccena suvati hotu Ye bhungala tasatam pasata chattari etani yugani honti te dati neya sugata sasavaka ete sudinnani mahapalani idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena saccena suvati hotu ye sopayota manasa dalhena nekamino gotamasa sanamhi te patipata matam vigaya dandamudhani buddhim bunjamana idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena saccena suvati hotu Yatindakilo patavim sitosiya chatu bivate viyasampatam viyo tatupamam sapurisam vadami yo arya satchani aveccha passati idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvati hotu Ye arya satchani vibhavayanti gambhira panyena sudesitani Kinchapi te honti bhusappamata nate bhavamattamam adiyanti Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvati hotu Sahava sadasana sampadaya jaya sughamma jahita bhavanti Sakaya deti vichikichitancha silabhatam vapi yadati kinchi Chatuha paye cha vipamuto chachabhitanani avambokatum Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvati hotu Kinchapi sokam mankaroti papakam kayena vacha udacetasa Avambo sota sapatichadaya Babbata ditapada sabhuta Idampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvati hotu Vanapagumbe yatha pusita gegem hanamase patamasmin gemhe Tatupamam dhammavaram adesayi nibbanagamim paramam hitaya Idampi buddhe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvati hotu Varo varanyo varado varaharo anutaro dhammavaram adesayi Idampi buddhe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvati hotu Kinam puranam navam nati sambhavam virata citta ayatike bhavasmim Te kina vija virohi chanda nirbanti dhirayatayam padipo Vidampi sanghe ratanam panitam etena satchena suvati hotu Yani bhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vantaleke Tathagatam deva manusa pujitam buddham namassama suvati hotu Yani bhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vantaleke Tathagatam deva manusa pujitam dhammam namassama suvati hotu Yani bhutani samagatani bhummani vayani vantaleke Tathagatam deva manusa pujitam sangham namassama suvati hotu Etena satchavajjena dukkhavopasamentu te Etena satchavajjena bhayavopasamentu te Etena satchavajjena rogavopasamentu te Okay, so please get in meditation posture, and we'll do some meditation together. So sitting up nice and straight. Taking a few deep breaths to settle the mind. Just briefly evaluate the condition of your mind. Does your mind feel scattered, restless? Is your mindfulness weak and dull? If so, then start off by doing samadhi practice for a while. Maybe even the whole period of meditation, just focusing on your body, focusing on unifying and collecting and stabilizing the mind, on brightening and sharpening and intensifying attention. Or if you find that your mind is already pretty stable, that it collects and unifies around the body quickly and easily, then you can move into the perception of impermanence. Maybe practice samadhi for just a couple of minutes or a few minutes, and then move into the recognition of impermanence. Or if you find that your mind is so immersed in formlessness that it just naturally gravitates in that direction, then you might practice objectless samadhi, going directly into silent illumination practice. So dropping all forms, including the form of the body, including the concepts of samadhi and impermanence, and just go directly into relinquishing all forms. So choose. Look at your mind. See what it most needs. Does it need to be unified and stabilized and sharpened? Then do samadhi for most of the time. If it's already pretty stable, pretty sharp, then do samadhi briefly and then cultivate the recognition of impermanence. And if the mind is inclining strongly towards formlessness, then practice silent illumination, dropping all forms. Choose your method, choose your strategy, and practice wholeheartedly for the next period of time. Oh, relaxing your posture. Resting for a moment in the peacefulness of the mind. Then, when you're ready, if you have any questions related to your practice during this retreat, then please feel free to type them into the live chat. So, just a reminder, if you have philosophical questions or questions about various interesting doctrinal concepts in Buddhism, I am very happy to discuss such things, and you can ask them on Wednesday. So please keep to things related directly to the meditation practices that we've been talking about. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in, and I'll do my best. Okay. Any questions yet?
Thank you so much, Bante. And we have so far one question from Sally, who is asking, when we made a resolution and goal, how could we not stick to the goal and made myself suffering? For example, this morning I made a resolution that I'm going to meditate 2.5 hours in full lotus, enjoying silent illumination. However, because of drinking too much liquid this morning, I want to go to pee several times in the middle of sitting. I guess the type of person better not make a resolution.
So resolutions are great, but it's important to make realistic resolutions. So if you just drank a lot of water, then resolving to sit still for 2.5 hours is not realistic. So that is actually a little practical thing, by the way. If you're planning to do a long period of sitting meditation, don't drink much water for the previous hour, and use the restroom right before you start sitting. So just a practical thing. The one interesting thing that you'll find is that when your samadhi is really strong, then physical issues like needing to urinate just don't really matter. It doesn't bother you. You'll just keep sitting, and it won't be an issue. And then when your sitting is done, then you'll jump up and immediately go to the toilet without hesitation. But when your samadhi is strong, then the physical needs kind of fade into the background. They lose their hold on the mind. So one of the incidents from the life of Ajahn Chah, and I talk about him a lot because my teacher's teacher was Ajahn Chah. So my teacher was always talking about Ajahn Chah. So at one point, Ajahn Chah was meditating in a cemetery at night, and he was absolutely terrified of ghosts, which is one of the reasons why he was meditating in a cemetery at night, was he wanted to overcome his fear of ghosts. But then while he was sitting in the cemetery, he started to hear noises, and he was so scared that he stayed sitting meditation in his tent for 16 hours because he was too scared to go out of his tent. And he did that without using the toilet once. So, moral of the story, I'm not recommending doing this, by the way. But moral of the story was that you can actually go without urinating for really long periods of time, especially if your samadhi is good. But practically speaking, don't drink too much water for the hour before you go to sit, and use the toilet right before you start. Then you can sit for 2.5 hours without needing to worry about these things. So yeah, resolutions are good, but make realistic resolutions. Also, if you've never sat for really long periods of time, then it's going to be a challenge. Though I think you said you did the other day, eh? Didn't you say she sat for 2.5 hours the other day?
Yes.
So you know you can do it. So I think it's just the bladder problem. So just be careful with that next time. Yeah.
Right, thank you. And Kevin is encouraging everyone to practice dana, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So if you wish to do so, you can go on buddhistinsights.com/donate. And Ron is saying, not a good day today. Too much discomfort. Legs went numb 20 minutes into meditation several times today. Several repositions. Still figuring out half lotus workout in process.
Yeah. So that sounds like a perfectly normal retreat experience. You'll have good days and you'll have bad days, and especially in the beginning. And by the beginning, I mean the first 5 years or so. In the beginning, it can be quite difficult to figure out how to position your legs so that they don't fall asleep. Eventually, you learn. Uh, One thing that you eventually discover is that when your legs are positioned incorrectly, your body produces a specific sensation. It's not like any other sensation. It's the sensation that specifically means your legs are going to fall asleep in a few minutes. And in the beginning of meditation practice, we usually have no idea what that sensation feels like or what it means, but it's there. So pay very close attention to the sensations in your legs and hips and lower body area when you start. And then if you notice that your legs are starting to fall asleep, see if you can make the connection. And eventually you'll learn. So that then in those first couple minutes when you're positioning your body, you'll position your body one way and you'll be like, there's that sensation. My legs are going to fall asleep. So then you'll shift your hips a little bit and you'll be like, okay, this time they won't fall asleep. I know. But you're not necessarily going to learn that right away. That might take you a few weeks, a few months, a few years. It's fine. Just keep experimenting with subtle variations on your sitting posture. One of the most common things with legs falling asleep, by the way, is sitting too far back on the cushion. So with your cushion, your buttocks should be towards the front of the cushion. If you sit with it too far back, then the forward part of the cushion will cut off the sensation, it will cut off the nerves in your thighs, in your upper thighs, and that will start putting your legs to sleep. So you want to make sure that your butt is far forward on the cushion. This way, your thighs are not touching the cushion at all. Then your legs won't fall asleep. So this is one of the really big tricks that you can use to help keep that from happening. Otherwise, just keep at it, keep experimenting. Try not to reposition during meditation, but as I mentioned the other day, if you feel like you really have to, just do it quietly, carefully, gently, and trying to keep your meditation going even as you adjust your posture. And then once you settle into a new position, really make the resolution to let the body be still. Okay?
Thank you, Bante. That was a very clear explanation. And Kevin is asking, had a small verbal confrontation today. Scene kept playing all over in the mind during sitting, producing lots of anger. Dropped the story, rage remained and fluctuated. I observed it until it passed. Is that the right method?
If it worked, then it's the right method. So the method you described is a pretty good one. And if it worked, then that's great. But yeah, it's interesting. And I think it's the Arnavibhanga Sutta, but it definitely shows up in other suttas as well. The Buddha says that one of the conditions for samadhi is avoiding arguments.
Interesting.
Yeah. And now you know why. Okay, what's the next question?
Thank you for sharing that. And Adriana is saying, when observing an emotion or some part of my body, my mind, for whatever reason, automatically connects the sensation to the breath. Is this okay?
Sensation is just sensation. The idea that it's related to the breath is just something extra that you're adding. So try to just be with the sensation. Unless I'm not understanding the question. Can you
If
read the question again?
when observing an emotion or some part of my body, my mind, for whatever reason, automatically connects the sensation to the breath.
Hmm. Yeah, so emotions in particular really don't have anything to do with the breathing. So I think that's just a concept, it's just an idea that you're forming. As for body sensations, well, technically, when you're breathing, the sensation of breathing is throughout the entire body. So we tend to think that breathing is something that involves our nose and our throat and our lungs, but actually, breathing is the entire body. So, of course, everything in the body is connected to the breathing, and the breathing is connected to everything in the body. So that's the way things are. But when you're doing the meditation, don't think in these terms. Just feel whatever the sensations are at the area that you're paying attention to. So you don't need to worry with trying to label what's breath and what's not breath. That doesn't help at all. Just pay attention to the sensations.
Okay. And Yanni is saying, Bhante, do I have to sit on the floor? I have a better endurance when I sit on the futon. I was able to sit and meditate for more than 60 minutes without having pain on my legs and have better experience.
Yeah, feel free to experiment with different options. You can sit in a really comfortable, fluffy, cushiony seat with all kinds of pillows and bolsters and blankets and whatever you want. That's perfectly fine. There's nowhere in the suttas where the Buddha says you must be miserable and in pain and discomfort when you meditate. He doesn't say that anywhere that I'm aware of. So it's fine to make a nice, comfortable place for you to sit in meditation. As long as you're sitting up straight and you're focusing on the meditation practice, then it's fine. No problem. So yeah, sit on your futon. It's fine. Yeah.
Right? Yeah. She's also saying that she sits with her legs folded when is on the futon. So all sounds all right. And Sally says, because I was anxious, afraid I can't keep sitting 2.5 hours, so it's actually mind agitated. Usually, if I stick to a goal, I lost relaxed natural flow. What's the difference between resolution and craving?
Well, to answer the first part of what you're saying, when you're doing the practice, don't think about the resolution. Don't think about how long it's going to be. Don't think about how long you've been sitting or how long you have left to sit. Just do the practice. So set the timer and then forget about it and just do the practice. So whether you're sitting for 10 minutes or 2 hours, it doesn't matter because what you're doing is you're sitting until the timer goes off. That's all. This is one reason why it's really important to have that uh, self discipline of not getting up until the timer goes off. Because what you're doing then is you're not training your mind to sit for certain amounts of time. What you're doing is you're training your mind to sit until the timer goes off. This is really valuable because then you can set the timer to anything and you'll just sit until it goes off. That's a very useful self discipline, very useful skill. As for the difference between resolution and craving, so craving is something that you keep returning to in your mind. Craving is an activity of mind, and it's usually bound up with something unwholesome. I guess someone keeps smiling, so I assume there's an amusing comment waiting for us. Okay, now she's laughing, so we'll get to that in a moment. Um, yeah, craving is inherently unwholesome. There's this sense of like, I want it, I must have it, I must have it, I need it. Whereas with resolution, it's just like, this is what I'm going to try to do, and then you do it. So as I said, also you make the resolution, but then you drop the resolution and you just do the practice until the resolution is fulfilled. But while you're doing the practice, you're not fixating on how badly you want to achieve your goal. You're just doing the practice. And then one day your goal is achieved. And that's that. Does that make sense? Okay, what's the funny stuff?
Marielle has the one of the best questions and stories. So she's saying, this morning I woke up very emotional and spent my morning practice in a very melodramatic mood. In one specific moment, I thought of something and then I realized maybe this is Mara and told him to F off. I don't know if it is mental, but it worked. I felt lighter and better, liberated. However, that made me think, is it okay to kick off Mara in this way? I love it.
So first off, I think that you would be a big hit in Italy.
Yes, totally.
In fact, this might be the way that Buddhism finally takes root in Italy is through stories like this. Yeah, I think it's fine. Yeah, if it works, it works. Yeah.
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 Actually, it does work. Yeah, I have a Yelp review on that. So, yes, it's good. That's how you actually think about Mara in a productive way.
There's another way of relating to Mara, by the way, which is to have metta for him. Because also recognize that Mara has dukkha just like everybody else, and he has delusion just like everybody else. And he's also making a lot of bad karma by harassing poor Buddhist practitioners all the time. Poor guy. He's kind of like the Trump of the Deva world. You're just like, oh, poor guy. Wow, so much bad karma. Yeah, so maybe that actually wasn't the best analogy. Now she'll even more want to tell Mara to F off. So yeah, try to have metta for him. But also firmly, clearly state that he's not getting any access to you. Make that really clear in your mind. It's just like, no, thank you. May you be happy and healthy, far away from me. Bye-bye. Okay?
And Kevin says, get that, Mara. Hashtag meta for Mara. And Ron is asking, who is Mara?
So you missed the conversation that was yesterday or the day before? When did we talk about Mara? I think it was yesterday.
Maybe it was yesterday, yeah.
Yeah. So Mara is a deva who periodically comes and harasses people who are trying to meditate. That's the long story short. So a bit more detail, Mara is actually the name of a category of devas. So we normally talk about Mara as though it's a single being, but actually there are many, many Maras. There's just one in particular who's particularly prone to coming and hassling us every now and then. But there's actually many, many, many Maras. More fun facts, by the way, is that in one of the Buddha's past lives, he was Mara. He was actually Mara many times. He was a Mara on countless occasions. Moggallana and Sariputta were Maras in past lives. We've probably all been Maras in past lives many, many times. It's just part of samsara is that every now and then you wind up in the role of Mara. You wind up as a Mara Deva. So it's not admirable, it's not desirable, and it usually incurs huge amounts of bad karma, which then leads to unpleasant things in the future. Which is why I say we should have metta for the Maras, because they're making life hard for themselves. Okay, Aya's smiling again. Must be more funny comments.
Just because of
okay, keep going.
For Mara. Adriana says, my bad, I phrased that badly. What happens is, as I'm observing a painful emotion, for example, I observe how the pain becomes stronger on the inhale and then weaker on the exhale, etc.
Oh, well, that's a way of contemplating impermanence, of recognizing impermanence. So that's okay. That's using the breathing process to help you with the recognition of impermanence. So that's what the Buddha talks about in his 16-step Anapanasati meditation. Is breathing in, one recognizes impermanence, breathing out, one recognizes impermanence. So using the breath process to help you keep your mind on anicca. That's fine.
And Sally is saying, there is a sutta, a sentence like, whatever Mara you give me, I give it back to you. I didn't take it.
Oh, that wasn't Mara. He was talking to a Brahmin. Yeah. Yeah. Unless you're thinking of something else that I'm not familiar with off the top of my head. But yeah, the common sutta that people refer to as a Brahmin who came and started hassling the Buddha. And then the Buddha said, he gave the simile of someone who brings a gift. He tells the Brahmin, do people ever bring you gifts? And the Brahmin said, well, of course, people bring me gifts all the time. And the Buddha said, well, what if you don't want to receive their gift? And the Brahmin says, well, in that case, it still belongs to the giver, and they do what they wish with it. And the Buddha said, well, in the same way, you've brought a gift of anger, but I've chosen not to receive it. So it's still yours to do with as you wish. So that's the story that I think you're referring to. Anyway, next question.
Elaine has an amusing comment. Coming from a Sicilian background, F off works better for me. And good on you, Bante. You are far compassionate than I am.
And one of the blessings of living with an Italian Buddhist monk is that I even know how to say F off in Italian. So one of the many useful Italian phrases that I've learned from Ayasoma.
Okay, next question is Sally is saying, just now in the sitting, I was aware of the whole body while paying my attention on breathing. I treated breathing as a way to keep my whole awareness preventing from mental proliferation. Then I felt not that tension on breathing anymore. Sounds okay? Not sure any sutta mentioned this method or not.
Yeah, I mean, that all sounds fine. Yeah. Yeah, no problem.
And Victor says, Bante, in hell there is being due punishment for people that make bad karma. Is this being will get karma by torturing people that born in hell?
Whether it's in hell or not, torturing other people is bad karma. So yes, torturing people produces bad karma, no matter what realm of being you're doing it in. I think that's what he's asking. Is that correct?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
Okay. Okay. Next question.
Well, that was it for now. So I'm sure that something is going to pop up sooner or later.
Probably something related to Mara.
If you have more Mara questions, feel free to type them in the live chat. If you also have other questions, you're welcome to type them in the live chat as well.
So try to keep it meditation related.
The Mara is very meditation related.
Yes, yes. Fair enough. Okay, well, maybe that's it for the evening.
Yeah, there's no other questions popping up. So, as I said, Kevin is asking, off top of the head, how long does Mara exist?
Okay, so that's not directly meditation related.
But it's Mara.
I don't remember. I'm not sure it actually specifically states in the suttas. Less than 1 eon, but more than a human lifespan. I actually don't remember off the top of my head which Deva realm he inhabits. He is the lord of, I think, the Tusita Deva world, or possibly the Nimanarati Deva world. I don't remember. Anyway, it's one of those worlds where they live for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. I think tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years. I don't remember off the top of my head. I was never too interested in calculating the lifespan of the different Deva realms, but there are scholars who have gone into those calculations and worked it all out, the relative lifespans of the different Deva realms. But I was never interested. What I do remember is that the lowest of the Brahma worlds, the lowest Brahma gods live for exactly 1 eon. The lifespan of one universe is the lifespan of one Brahma. So that's a basic line. And the current lifespan of humans is about 100 years. So then all of the ordinary devas are in between there. They live longer than humans, so more than 100 years, but less than a Brahma, so less than one lifespan of the universe. So that's about the best I could give you off the top of my head.
Okay.
Again, this is not meditation related.
Well, we have a few questions that popped up.
And Jennifer also has a question.
Yeah, just wondering, is silent illumination method similar to the meditation on consciousness, like on silent?
So that's a great question. So Jennifer is asking if silent illumination is similar to the meditation on the six elements. Not directly, but I would say that if you practice the meditation on the six elements, then it's much easier to do silent illumination practice. So, what I find with the meditation on the six elements is that after going through them and finishing up the meditation on the consciousness element, then my mind just naturally goes directly into silent illumination. It's kind of like the seventh element. Like once you go through the six elements, then the mind, like the natural next step is to do silent illumination practice. In my experience, anyway.
I thought it's the same as meditating on consciousness.
No, it's not. But it's a natural step beyond meditating on consciousness.
What do I have to drop?
The consciousness.
Okay. Too hard.
I mean, silent illumination, the instruction is really simple. Drop all forms. Everything. That includes consciousness. Anyway, don't worry about it. Just work on dropping everything else that you can drop until there's nothing else left to drop. Yeah. Okay, more questions?
So, Ron is asking 5 days ago, there was a frenzy to work on resume search jobs. Now I wonder why karma is necessary when, if everything is impermanent, a big confusion, churning, still anger arises due to furlough.
Oh, wait, what? He's wondering if karma is still necessary?
If everything is impermanent.
If everything is impermanent, why is karma still necessary?
Something like that. 5 days ago, there was a frenzy to work on resume search jobs. Now I wonder why karma is necessary. Is it necessary when if everything is impermanent? A big confusion, churning, still anger arises due to furlough.
Why is looking for a job necessary if everything is impermanent?
Maybe, Ron, if you can clarify what exactly you're asking, that would be helpful. And Sally says, Bante, is the method I mentioned related to on-object meditation method?
What was the method she mentioned?
I don't remember
Something
anymore.
to do with breath meditation, but I don't remember the details.
Anyway, she gives more detail here. When I was totally immersed into the present whole body, I experienced it's constantly changing wholeheartedly for 2 or 3 seconds. Kind of felt the middle part of the body is empty. Nothing can really grasp. Then thoughts arise. I recognize the thoughts, felt nothing can really grasp. Any thoughts regarding I or just extra? This is totally not what I thought about samatha and vipassana. Any advice?
Yeah, you're on the right track. So that's not silent illumination practice. That's the recognition of impermanence. That's anicca sanya, but it's exactly what I've been teaching during this retreat. So you're on the right track. You're doing exactly what you should be. Good. Keep it up. Keep going. Yeah.
And Mark is asking, I have noticed that my tongue goes either to the hard palate or rests. In this tradition, which is recommended?
Whichever works for you. So in the Zen traditions, they normally recommend that the tongue is against the roof of your mouth, with the tip of the tongue against the back of your front teeth. And that's a very useful place to keep the tongue because it tends to help your mouth be still, and also it minimizes saliva production. But it's not necessary. It doesn't really matter where you put your tongue as long as it's still. But maybe because I practiced Zen for many, many years before getting into Theravada, I tend to use that tongue position because I've come to really appreciate how effective it is. But it doesn't really matter where your tongue is as long as it's not moving. Okay?
All right. And Ron is clarifying what's the relevance of karma when everything is impermanent?
Because your choices still have consequences. Okay?
And Jane is saying, I can meditate for 45 minutes without moving. After 45 minutes, I can't bear the pain in my legs and have strong feeling that I need to stretch my legs. I want to sit for a longer time.
Good. Then sit for a longer time. Okay, next question.
Edward says, I needed to do walking meditation before sitting. I felt restless sitting. I walked for about 50 minutes and afterwards I felt really concentrated by taking your advice just to walk naturally. Work.
Yeah. Actually, the first time I experienced really deep samadhi was after doing a long period of walking meditation. So, walking meditation, if you do it wholeheartedly, walking meditation can be really powerful as a support to your sitting meditation. Yeah.
Okay, and Sally's saying, is feeling everything happen just the result of complex causes and conditions and not fixed is what emptiness means?
I mean, that's an element of it. That's an element of what points to it. But ultimately, emptiness is the formless potential which underlies all phenomena. Okay?
Okay, and Victor is saying, so the being in hell torturing people is Deva or Mara? Because in Chinese they consider it Deva.
No. The being in hell who tortures people, wow. I've actually usually thought of them as being a hell being. So somebody who is born in hell and is suffering just as everybody else is suffering. But they're also in a position where they're torturing other people. So it's even worse in some ways because they're incurring more bad karma. So I've always thought of the torture. And by the way, this is not remotely meditation related, so I don't know why I'm answering this question. But yeah, I would say that they're neither devas nor maras. I would say that they're vinipatika, if you want to use the technical terms, vinipatika. So beings who have been reborn in the lower realms in a state of misery. Yeah, they're not happy either, trust me.
Maybe one day we'll have the cosmology. Buddhist
Well,
cosmology.
we were actually supposed to have it this month.
I know, but the pandemic prevented Ajahn Punadhammo from coming. Actually, perhaps we can ask him if he wants to do it online.
Yes, that's a great idea. Okay. Yeah, so Ajahn Punadhammo, he's kind of made it his area of expertise is Buddhist cosmology. So he would be the guy who could tell you like which heaven realm the Maras live in and how long they live and whether or not the torturers are Vinipatikas or Devas or Maras. He could answer all these questions without hesitation. We'll see if we can set up an online teaching with him.
Yeah, that would be great. And Sally is clarifying that the method I mentioned related to an object meditation method refers to I was aware of the whole body while paying attention on my breathing. I treated breathing as a way to keep my whole awareness preventing from mental proliferation.
No, that's not objectless meditation because you're using the body and the breath as objects. Therefore, you're still doing object-based meditation. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with doing object-based meditation. So it's important not to get the idea that objectless meditation is superior to object-based meditation. It's not that it's superior necessarily, but rather that it's good at some times. So it's more about seeing what's helpful for the mind at this time. So if you try to do objectless meditation when your mind is not in the right condition for it, then it's going to be inferior, not superior. Similarly, if you try to do object-based meditation when your mind is inclining towards formlessness, then that's going to be inferior as well. That's not going to go so well either. So it's not that one is inherently better than the other. It's rather that they're suited for different states of mind.
Sadhu. And Sally says, is that possible in future we can learn the sutta regarding the Nimitta Samadhi that Bhante taught this morning? Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll make a note of it. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And also people are happy about cosmology and coming soon. That'd be good. All right. So I think now it is the end for real of the evening, not of everything.
That too.
Oh, last question from Sally. So the object can be two at the same time for samadhi, both the whole body and breathing?
Yes. That's particularly useful if your mind is very restless. Then having two objects gives it a little bit more to do so that it starts to collect together. But as the mind becomes more collected, then usually one object is better.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Bhante. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And well done, everyone. Keep staying home and practicing and keep safe. And we'll see you at 8 a.m. New York time tomorrow morning.
Yep. So tomorrow at 8 a.m., Ayasoma will be leading the meditation and giving a Dhamma talk. So make sure to tune in at that time.
Oh, well, it's good to know. All right. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Funny.